up, everybody? This is Ruben Garcia, and this is a beautiful day. And today on the Proven by Ruben podcast, we have Joseph Klosik. What's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing well, buddy. I'm doing well. Glad to be here.
Yes. So if you could, tell everyone who you are, what you do, how you do it, and all that good jazz.
All right. So, as you said, my name is Joseph Klosik. I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. I am, I know it's that subtle correction. you like how you do that? We can start over if you want to, by the way.
Throw this away.
So I'm in Charleston, South Carolina. I'm in real estate. I work with Keller Williams Realty. My wife and I run our husband-wife team there. We are part of an expansion organization, the Temple team out of Charlotte.
Okay.
Where I actually work as their expansion and lead generation director.
Gotcha.
That's a kind of the nutshell where we are right now. In addition to that, I'm a master faculty member with Keller Williams University, which I just recently became, which is
all that.
Part.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you. It was a lot of work.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
A lot of constructive feedback, as they call it.
Yeah. A lot of tears.
Right. Didn't know I felt that badly about myself sometimes, but I've been in real estate for I just celebrated my 17th anniversary with Keller Williams. I've been with them from the beginning. So started as a buyer's agent, not a good buyer's agent. So went off and built my own business on listings, and then I was a team leader for about 6 years in 2 different market centers.
Wow.
And so I love that. That's actually where I fell in love with the teaching side of things.
Right.
Really love the training consulting side of it. So started to pursue that, and then met my wife Lynn when I was a team leader, and she wanted to get into real estate as well, the residential side. She was working in commercial, and so we joined forces and formed our local team we call Salt Marsh Properties. We started that January 2011 we launched it. And we've had fun. It's been an experience.
So in the very beginning, it was straight resale real estate.
Yes.
What got you started in that? What even provoked that?
I was working at the time. I was a captain on a private yacht. I was doing nothing having to do with real estate.
Really?
I took that proverbial year off from college. My dad was an attorney. I was always going to go to law school. So you can imagine his joy when I came home and said, I'm going to be working on a yacht as a captain for a while. And during that time, I just I have a really good friend of mine in college whose dad was in real estate. And he recruited me to come work in new construction, in high-end new construction at a resort outside of Atlanta. So I packed everything up, put in my notice, and decided to go do this. And the day before I moved from Charleston to Madison, Georgia, I was going to move and work on Lake Oconee. I got a call saying, hey, some things have changed with the leadership here. We are not going to have you come work as an apprentice in real estate, but we've got some room in food and bev if you want to go work over there. We'd love to have you. So that was not in my plan. I moved in with my parents and went to real estate school and just started interviewing general brokerages because I was already getting my license. And my stepmom's best friend was in real estate, and she needed some help. And she wanted to be a mentor and had mentored people before.
Right.
So she happened to be with Keller Williams as well, which was the best coincidence of the whole story.
Right.
And so I jumped in with her as a buyer's agent, learned the ropes. She's a great agent. She has more of a commercial background. So started there and never knew what I got into until after I got into it.
Yeah. So backing up to the yacht.
Yes.
What is if you could just entertain us for a second, what is the craziest story that you have on that yacht? Does it live on the yacht?
It's I think I'm sworn to secrecy somehow on that one.
Yeah.
There are a lot of crazy ones.
Craziest thing.
Craziest one, man. I was kind of a nerd on the boat, so I had personal stories that had nothing to do with the yacht, my lifestyle at the time. But we had some. This was a crazy story. This was actually after I got off of it. The people with whom I worked had hired another captain that they didn't get along with very well. So I was actually in Atlanta at the time selling real estate, and I got out of a closing, and I had a voicemail from the owner saying, "Hey, our captain quit. We have to leave. I have you booked on a flight tomorrow to come get us. I just need you to call me and tell me what it's going to take to get on the flight."
Wow.
So that was my first experience with leverage because they were kind of in a crazy situation. And went up there and they were going to get kicked out of the marina. So I had to kind of help them get out of there. So
I love that close on his part. He was like, listen, I already got you booked. You need to tell me what it takes.
It was. So it was fun. There were a lot of other crazy stories, weather and nighttime travel and stuff. But
Yeah.
nothing too wild.
Yeah. Anything where you felt that your life and the people on board were at risk?
I had a couple of, most of that would happen where I actually had one, we were there, you go across the state of Florida, there's all these locks and you go across the Okeechobee and all that. And
yeah.
total rookie error. I had, there had been a notice gone out that the locks were on this very odd schedule because of a drought. And so our boat was just slow enough to miss the closing by like 15 minutes. So we'd have to wait another 2 hours, and we got really delayed. And the whole probably last 4 hours of the trip was pitch black. All the marinas were full, and I had owners on board. So I couldn't, they weren't going to anchor out. They were anxious to get back, and I didn't want to be nervous. It was never really life threatening. It's not like we were miles offshore or anything like that, but it was pretty nerve wracking. And when someone pays that much money for a toy and they pay that much money for a staff, you don't really like them to be that nervous.
Right.
So that was probably, a nerve wracking one. I had a fire in an engine room one time with a tour boat. That was pretty exciting.
Yeah, they say fire's not good on a boat.
No, it's really, it wasn't. The funny part of that one, it was actually a tour boat. We had a bunch of, about 100 people on board, and they were just, going around Charleston Harbor, telling a little spiel, and engine alarm went off, and first mate went running down there, and when he came back in, his eyes were just like, he was ghost white and everything. I was like, oh gosh, this is great news. And so I had everybody come up top, and I didn't tell them what was going on. I just said, if everybody come up, to the front of the boat. And then I called the Coast Guard, but I didn't do a Mayday call because it was contained, and we didn't know it was a fire yet. It was just the engine room we couldn't get into. And so when I called them, they switched. They have a station or channel that they monitor. And I called them, and I just said, hey, this is the vessel such and such, and we're headed back to the dock. We have a possible engine room fire. What was amazing is if you picture you're sitting in a wheelhouse of a boat in the middle of Charleston Harbor, and you've got all these boats around. You've got other tour boats, you've got pilot boats, and all that. And as soon as I said that, every single one of them turned towards us.
Really?
So you knew they were all listening because we're all nosy. We want to know what's going on. But what was cool is they all found out what happened, and they literally came up and escorted us back and just basically said, you need us, let us know, otherwise we'll just follow you back. That was pretty cool. You got to, it was just kind of a neat thing. All ended up being fine. It was contained. We got it out. We got back to the dock with 6 hook and ladders, 2 ambulances, and 4 Coast Guard boats. That was more attention than I probably wanted at the time.
Wow. But I mean, heck, everyone was safe at the end of the day.
Everybody was safe. No one panicked. We it was a good time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. It was fun.
This is me
just telling these stories, man. Let's go back into yachting.
Yeah, I know. So next week.
Exactly.
So, and this is just me being curious. What did you find that, or were you not? I don't know. Were you allowed to ask? Were you not allowed to ask? What was the occupation, or what was the investments, or what was their stronghold? The person who owned that yacht.
So great question, because it really is part of the story. There were 2 owners of the boat that I had. One was a lawyer, and one was in real estate. And
crazy.
And I told my dad,
you knew no matter which way, you're on the right path.
Correct. I was like, hey, and we had real estate background as a family. We owned some real estate, nothing huge. Didn't know a ton about sales or anything. And but I told my dad, and sitting down when I had this opportunity to go into real estate, I said, look, I've studied these two families, and amazing families. They both treated me like family, wonderfully nice people. And I said, the guy in real estate seems to have a little more time. He seems to have more time on the boat. And and again, that was a coincidental part of the story. It wasn't the end all be all, but it was still a good observation. But yeah, their money came from, like I said, one was an attorney. He did a lot of real estate law. And then the other one was a developer. He did more, his was more development than it was sales.
Gotcha.
He did a lot of development, up and down the East Coast. And, but yeah, the money in that industry it's crazy. And I was on a small boat. I was, the boat I was on was not a big mega yacht that's millions of dollars a year to run. Right. But it was we had about a $250,000 operating budget, and that's all expense, right? There's no money that comes in to offset that. It's a toy.
Wow. So you couldn't Airbnb it?
You could, they didn't.
Right. No, that's cool that you get to isn't that funny? Like just how life sets it up like that.
It is. Yeah. That was, I'm telling you, it was the experience not only was fantastic because I still have a passion for being on the water and boating, but some life experience, just turning point as far as professionally. I mean, like I said, they were both wonderful people, and honestly, both I stayed in touch with, mentored me as I moved into the real world and that sort of thing.
Right, cool.
So a lot of growth from there, spiritually as well. One of the families was, very, influential on my faith and that sort of thing. So it was a cool experience. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So kind of mixing them both, while you were that excellent buyer's agent and you were helping people buy those homes, did you ever run into a home that maybe was for sale that had a boat there and then you wanted to talk more about the boat that was versus the house? Great
question, man.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, it'll be like, I've gotten to the point now where this recently happened. It's like, okay, we're going to have a cutoff time because we're going to talk about boats for part of it and we're going to talk about house the other part.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and you have to, honestly, because no matter how passionate the one party is about the boats, you have to kind of keep that focused in.
Sure.
You don't want to lose them.
Yeah, no doubt. But that brings in you guys to be just a little bit tighter because you got that commonality.
Right.
Yeah, but I can see the struggle. The struggle's real.
The struggle's real.
Yeah.
It is.
I know when I was showing homes, if I walked into, because I'm a car guy, if I walked into the garage,
Yeah.
And then they're like, hey, look at, what's this? And I'm like, shh.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a beautiful STI in front of me, right? And I'm just looking at these cars. But no, I figured it'd be the same for you as well.
I recently, within the last year, went on a listing presentation and walked in, and I don't know if I call myself a car guy, but I do like cars a lot. And he was showing me the garage, and I finally said, okay, I was like, I won't do it now because I want to stay professionally. I said, but before I leave today, I want to hear that start, and I just want to hear what it sounds like. And he's like, how do you know it sounds well? I was like, can you just promise me I can hear the car?
Yeah.
And he did, and it sounded good.
What kind of car was
it? It was a Mustang. He had just
Mustang?
got it, but he had done some work to it.
Yeah.
And it sounded good. It was just your quintessential V8, just growl.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yep.
So what was one of the, and you may have said it, and I apologize. What was one of the determining factors for you to move from, you know what, I'm going to move into real estate, not so much the yacht world, because it sounds like boats was a real passion. What got you to exit that and move into real estate?
Yachting for me or boating for me, gosh, it was so long ago too. It was a different experience. I didn't get majorly into it. Like I said, I worked a lot of my time in college was commercial side, and then the first boat I got a full-time job on was a little bit of a smaller boat. So I didn't have, it was a lot of work. It's all a lot of work. I'm not saying there's other people who do it and it's easy. It's also a very transient lifestyle.
Right.
And so I did had a lot of windshield time because we had a car that belonged to the boat, so to speak. So anytime I would move to a different, we didn't travel a lot. We traveled regionally and stayed a couple months at a time at different places. So I'd always, get to a place, fly back and get the car. So I had a lot of time to think, did a lot of reading, books on tape and that sort of thing. And I just started to realize that for me, it was more, it was a lifestyle I wanted, but at my, control, for lack of a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was a great lifestyle. You lived on a boat. I didn't have any expenses. I made decent money. It was, you're always going different places.
Right.
But for me, it was like, okay, what's more foundational? What's more long-term for me?
Right.
And so that's kind of what it was. And like I said, I did have, it was one of my best friends from college. It was his dad who basically pushed me into getting real estate. And in hindsight, with all that not working out the way that it was originally planned,
right,
I wouldn't trade it for a second. Now, had you asked me that during it, I probably said something differently, but because it got me, everything lined up, and it hasn't necessarily been an easy road, but it's been the road I was supposed to be on for sure.
Yeah. So you on that road, you said you had some windshield time and you were listening to books.
Yeah.
Were there any books that kind of hit you home where you said, you know what, I need to make a change?
I'd say, well, I don't know that there are two. I think the first one that really had me start to think, and maybe a little bit of a cliche, was the Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yes.
And what's interesting is I had read that a couple of times, and actually had given it as a gift. And at the time, people were like, God, that's just kind of an insulting gift to give. I'm like, I'm not saying anybody's like a poor dad. Like, just kind of coming a little more open mind. So I had actually read the book a couple of times, and when I was listening to it, it kind of started to click a little bit more.
Yeah.
So that was a big one.
Does he
at the time?
Does Robert Karahala, does he read it Or is it
it is actually, yeah.
Is
it is him
That's
reading
awesome.
it. Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Kiyosaki.
Yes, thank you.
And it's so that was good. And again, it was more at the time. Gosh, I can't. I'm embarrassed to admit. Last time I probably picked the book up, which I probably should do. Very simplistic stuff. It's a lot about investing. It's a lot about It's fairly. I don't want to say elementary because that makes it sound bad, but it was good for me at the time.
Agreed.
Right. I mean, I don't think there's one book that fits all by any means.
Right.
Most of the ones that have the most impact on me were probably the easiest to read.
Yes.
And the shortest.
Pictures
are a bonus.
Yeah. So what was the second book?
The second one was a different time in my life, but was The Traveler's Gift, the Andy Andrews one.
Yeah.
I can tell you exactly when that was. It was 2004.
Wow.
2003. Ironically, I was delivering a boat. I was in real estate, but I was working part-time a lot on boats, and was delivering a boat from Long Island Sound, I can't remember, Connecticut, down to Charleston. Very slow boat. Very slow.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of time to read, and so I read that one, and that was one that got me to kind of take things a little more seriously and just kind of, start to build my business up a little bit, actually act a little bit more like an adult.
Right.
And, not that it was, I just, I had multiple income. I had, in my eyes, multiple streams of income, which was, a part-time job washing boats, a part-time job driving boats. Maybe waiting tables here and there. So it was like, okay, why don't you focus on one?
You only need two more.
Right, exactly.
And then you're wealthy.
Exactly. That's what I was reading the books and they were telling me multiple streams of income. Yeah. And so, that's actually one that helped me kind of get all of that out of my life, not in a dramatic negative way, but and just focus on the real estate side of things, which then subsequently led me to pursuing some leadership opportunities.
That's right.
So.
Yeah. So you got into real estate. You were doing the buyer's agent stuff, and then got the opportunity to be.
No, so I was a buyer's agent in Atlanta for a short period of time. I worked with that agent that had hired me for about 6 months, and what we learned in that was twofold. One, I wasn't a very good buyer's agent for two reasons. One, I don't have a high level of attention to detail. And I don't have a high level of patience.
Right.
So those are two things that are very important, which is why, by the way, my wife is a great buyer's agent.
Right.
The second thing is the agent with whom I was working, love her to death. There's no judgment in this. What she needed more of an administrative side than she did a buyer's agent. So at the time, it was a good time for her to say, you know what, I do need someone. And it worked at first because I was getting in, she was paying me some, she was helping me out, and I was doing admin work.
Right.
I'm not blessed in that. I don't have any attention to detail.
Yeah.
So I moved over and started doing, I just kind of went after listings and just focused on that. Like I said, I was in Atlanta at the time, and the only reason I was there was because of this original plan to go into real estate. I had no other reason to be back in Atlanta.
Right.
And I loved it. I loved the job. I was working with Keller Williams. I loved all of that. I was ready to be back to Charleston. I want to be back by the water, do that. So I moved back to Charleston in 2003.
Yeah.
Beginning of 2003. So about 2 years into it is when I moved back to Charleston.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then started.
So I was in sales then for about 2 years.
Got it.
Yeah, I was on a 2-year cycle early on in my life. So it was every 2 years I would do something.
So funny you say that.
Right. And so I got back, did the same thing. And that was kind of the time where I, did some soul searching and said, let's get a little more focused. And then really, that's also where I had the opportunity. That's actually where I got the first opportunity to start doing a lot of training. Because at the time we had, when I moved to Charleston, I had left, the number one, they fought for number one, number two market center in the region at the time. And still right now, I think top 20, booming, super, super cool office to be part of. And I came to Charleston and they hadn't even launched yet. So I remember my first meeting with the core group. None of them were with KW yet. And we met in a common room at an apartment complex.
Yeah.
And I remember it like it was yesterday. It was actually the Monday after Super Bowl Sunday. And we walk in and it's like still smells of the beer from the Super Bowl, right? And I'm like, what have I done? I left this huge office and I go here and so I kept telling them, they kept talking about Keller Williams. I was like, training, this is why everybody wants to come. Train. And they finally like, all right, big man, well then train. Go teach a class. Like if you want to start doing it, if you want to bring it, like we're all trying to do this as well. So kind of got thrown not thrown to the wolves. They just basically said, go do it.
Right.
And which was one of the best things they could have done. And so started teaching a lot of the accountability, more facilitating classes at the time.
Yeah.
One class called Success Series that, gosh, has been put in the archives probably. But so that's how I got into the training side of it and teaching. And so as I did that and was working on my real estate business,
right.
You know, the market was good. I was young and ambitious and said, I asked them, I said, I want to be a team leader. They said, you're not ready. I was like, cool. And I just went and found someone who thought I was.
That's what I did.
So in hindsight, that might not have been the best idea.
Yeah.
But again, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah. So what was your sell side of the business? What did that look like before taking the team leader position, meaning units, volume? What was that?
Dig into the thought process. Yeah, it was. It wasn't huge. I'll be honest. It was. I think the year before I moved, took a team leader role. I think I was right at right about $4 million. Again, the price point at the time was about 175.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that work out to be? 20 units?
Yeah,
20 units.
Mm-hmm.
So I had done that. I had done about the same amount of units right before I moved from Atlanta. So yeah, it wasn't. And in addition to that, I found myself still being pulled to the maritime industry because it was fun.
Right.
Right. So that was a distraction there that I would use. I would say, well, I need to do it to make money, which I really didn't because I had kind of the units were there. So that's what it was about then. And so in hindsight, when someone said, no, you're not ready to be a team leader yet, I'm not saying that you have to have a high sales volume to do it. However, I don't know that they made a terrible idea by saying no.
Right.
Particularly for where that market was at the time.
Right.
So yeah, and I moved to Florida and was a team leader down there for 2 years.
Oh,
yeah.
So
okay, so I did. I said, well, fine.
Nothing. I did not do that. Wow. Okay. All right. Well, and I guess I just wanted to say that I think there's a few lessons there, right? One is that you don't have to be a mega agent to have the leadership in you mm-hmm. to want to lead an office, right? Which you didn't have. And the other thing is that it's almost that go for no thing that we always hear. Mm-hmm. But just because someone tells you no to your ambition, no to your dream, no to where you want to go, doesn't necessarily mean that's where you stop. There's going to be a route. You just have to be willing to look for it.
Right.
And for you, it was many states down south.
Well, yeah, it was. And it was, I think it was John Maxwell. I'm just going to say it was because then I can compare myself to John Maxwell.
Yeah, and then we'll tag him.
Correct, exactly. Be like, I think he was talking about, I think it was him, and correct me if you know, but like when he was talking about his first job when he was a preacher, he said, he wanted to preach for a company that he didn't have enough, or a church that he didn't have enough experience to preach.
Yeah.
So he ended up going to a church who needed someone, but they didn't have the money to afford the person they needed. So it was that's kind of what I did. Is I went to a market center that, they needed a team leader that could bring what I could bring, and they only had the money to pay a team leader that, with the experience that I had, would be willing to take.
Right.
Right. Most of the team leaders that would have come in and been able to do a whole lot more from whatever standpoint, they wouldn't have been able to afford at the time.
Right.
However, I don't mean that to sound negative towards them. It ended up working out great on all ends because the market center now is doing wonderfully.
Right.
And times were different then. This was 2006 when I moved down there, that was 13 years ago.
Yeah.
That was great. I feel wonderful about myself right now. 13 years ago.
Hey, there's a lot to be learned here in this podcast, right? Because of the many years.
Exploratory.
Yes. So, what was one of the biggest challenges for you growing that office?
My biggest challenge is maybe still to this day, to be honest with you, is getting out of my own way from the confidence standpoint, and I think at the time, I say all that about where the market center was. I mean, we went through the process. I interviewed with the region. I interviewed with people. So, I mean, it's not like I showed up and they were like, Fogomir, you got it.
Right.
However, there was a part of me at the time that did put a lot of stock in the fact that, I did know that I still, where I had been in the business for 4 years, I hadn't been a mega, I hadn't done that. So, so that was probably up there. And then the second with that was being a little, I was a little afraid probably to be a little more fierce on some realities at the time, for that current market center, so it was more, I lead as a high I. So, I want people to be happy. I want people to like me, that sort of thing. And there, the market center at the time was going through some challenges. The market was going through some challenges. I moved down to Florida in 2005, and then in 2006, it bottomed out. So, so being able to just kind of be more, not forceful, but, just have the ability to tell people, the blunt truth. Right.
Yeah.
In a way, for me, I was raised to be completely conflict averse. So when it comes to leadership, that's a big challenge of mine, because it doesn't mean, that's not a good thing as a leader. And so for me, it was a quick learning, and it took some changes in leadership for me. I mean, the gentleman who had hired me, he had the same personality. So that was kind of, so put the two of us together. It's like, that's not helpful. And then a new a group came in and purchased it. And, that change in leadership really helped to say, look, you can have these fierce discussions without any judgment.
That's right.
So from my standpoint as an anytime something's wrong, somebody's judging. Right. So I had to get out of that. I had to get out of my way to say, no, you can sit down and have a very fierce conversation. And it not be, judgmental. Right. And it'll help those people grow.
Yes. So is that the piece that helps you get past that barrier?
Yes.
To know that it's not about you, it's about the person.
Yeah. So subtle. Sorry. No, it's true. It's not. I mean, that's such a good point, though. It's like, it's not about me. And if they do take it the wrong way, then that's, so what, they still should know.
Yeah. And I think, because I'm high, I don't know if you can tell.
A little bit. I mean, you do a podcast.
I think we're well versed, as long as we can know that in that moment, it's not about us. It's about them, their goals, why they're even doing this. Why did that conversation even pop up? Like, what's deeper in it, and know that the fierce conversation may be what's needed. And if they feel hurt in that moment, I think our high is, it complements it a little bit, because we can kind of go around and lift them back up if they felt it came across the wrong way, versus just keep hammering. Maybe.
No. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I do. I do. I was thinking.
Are you judging me?
Yeah, I am actually. Yeah, I think that is a good point. I think for me, it was having the leadership to open that up, to have a to be able to work with someone and have someone hold you accountable, and then when you're done with that, oh wait, so everything's fine, right? It's like, if we have a conflict, it doesn't mean the world is over.
That's
kind of thing. I'm sure there's some reasons behind feeling that would, I probably need some professional time to figure out what that was. But yeah, I mean, getting into business with people, I mean, that was the coolest thing about the people that came down and purchased into the market center and the region in Florida at the time. They came in and they were wonderfully successful people. I hadn't heard about them and actually knew them prior to that. So it was exciting to come down, and it was very eye-opening to see, okay, these people are highly accountable people. Yeah. And, and it's not because they want that for them. It's because for us to succeed at the highest level, we have to do it for us. Yeah. So that was and again, that was, I learned it like that. And then it took like 7 or 8 years for me to actually do anything about it.
Yeah. Cause that's important. I mean, if those higher standards do compound throughout the whole organization down to, and not that there's any hierarchy, but down to the admin who's supporting their family. Right. And if the business isn't coming in, I don't know if the salary's there in order to fund their family. So, but it does come with that higher accountability, doesn't it? Yeah. I remember, it's funny you say that. I remember one Christmas, and this was right as the market looks at me. Reason or results? I'm already making excuses for it. We weren't able to give a staff. bonus. Edit that out.
Yeah, please do. Yeah. We weren't able to give a staff bonus. I was a team leader, and I remember thinking, and this is a little bit different time in that your MCAs at the time were wonderful. From retention and support and everything, but they weren't nearly as involved then as they are now from a recruiting standpoint, and particularly front desk. So the point of that is there was really that was out of their control. Yeah. And so it was really in mine. So that was a kick in the gut. Yeah. You go home and you're like, you have to look and make those hard decisions to say, I know you don't have anything to do with this, but you don't get a Christmas bonus. Like, that was rough. Yeah. And so that goes into, so I'm so worried about what people think about me, and I don't want to be held accountable or hold people accountable. And so while I'm protecting my feelings, great. Oh, by the way, their Christmas just completely changed. Yeah. Like that was no bueno, as they say. I didn't love that.
Yeah. How about the next Christmas? What'd that look like?
It was much better.
Yeah.
It was
Everyone
much
got
better.
bonuses.
It would have come out of my pocket, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
had we not been able to. But it was much better. You know, because those are the things that you start to think about when this accountability thing.
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, accountability is my biggest struggle. Like I don't love to be held accountable, but I've been shown or told the importance of it, right?
Yeah.
So you start to embrace the reasoning behind that a little bit more.
Yeah.
A lot more, actually.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you know, as a coach, you're...
Yeah. Well, and team leader too, because
right.
when I shadowed Lucas Sheridan, for 3 days, that's all it took.
Right.
And right then and there, I knew that I wasn't serving like I should have been serving, because his level of accountability is so spot on,
right,
that his whole office was lifted to this, rocket style level,
right,
that those high accountability sessions, literally you could not meet with the guy unless you brought numbers.
Right.
Like there was no conversation, zero conversation.
Yeah.
Unless you bring numbers so he can bring in hyper-focus,
right,
and we can coach around what exactly needs to happen.
Right.
Versus fluff, we pull in the time, more time for you to go out there. It was crazy.
Right.
And it just took that for me to come back. And if you look in my office, I have this baseball plate, because he had a baseball plate.
Okay.
And it was all about, if you read this story about, I think it's a coach, but he's in front of a bunch of baseball players and he's telling the story of the importance of the baseball plate and holding the standard, because they never widen the plate so more people can hit the ball.
Right.
It's always been, so and it's right above his door. And it's just...
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. Read the story. It's way more impactful than how I'm delivering it, by
I
the way.
Good job.
Yeah.
Give yourself some credit. Well, it's funny you said, I thought of can I share a story?
Please do.
Okay. So you know who Cheryl Sidoti is? She's the regional director in the Southeast region.
Yes.
So if you saw her, you'd recognize her.
Okay.
So Cheryl is, I'm pretty sure, gosh, if she ever hears this, I hope I get it right, but I'm pretty sure she's in the Team Leader Hall of Fame. She was actually a team leader when I was in Atlanta. She was a team leader in the Sugarloaf office, which was kind of they were fighting as a flagship, quote unquote, office when they first launched. Okay. Wonderful, wonderful human being.
Yeah.
And she's now serves as the regional director for the Southeast region. Well, she was part of the group that purchased into the market center that I was in down in Florida. So you can imagine, here I am. And at the time, I had only been down there like 6 months, maybe 9. And they're like, oh, by the way, we're selling the market center. And I'm like, oh, to who? And it's like this list of luminaries that I know of in the industry. And one of them is Cheryl. She was in all the team leader model videos of her consulting and her accountability. Yeah. So she was going to be my coach. And I'm like, this is amazing. It's Cheryl Sidoti. Right?
Yeah. So
we set up and we were using the 411, and our first meeting we had set up, and I was to email her the 411, and you've got she's got just, beautiful smile, wonderfully nice lady. And so, we get on the call and she's like, how's your weekend? I was like, it's good. She's like, great. She's like, well, I noticed that, I didn't get your 411. I was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't send it to you. I didn't get a chance to fill it out. She's like, okay. She's like, I guess so. Same time next week, we'll chat.
Yeah.
And it was like this awkward, I was like, what? And I was like, ma'am. And she said, well, Joseph, she said, I can't hold you accountable if you don't have the numbers. Like we can sit here and chat, but that's not worth your time. You need to go out and get your numbers. And I've got things that I need to do. And of course she said it much more sweetly than that. And it was like, I got off the phone and I was like, I just had a 30-second consulting call with Cheryl Sidoti and I messed it up badly.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing. And I can promise you I did not miss sending those numbers again. And that's, by the way, again, that was a turning, big turning point in my accountability, that market center, everything from there. So anyway.
Yeah. So what other thing did you get out of her, like a golden nugget that you feel is really impacted your business?
From a recruiting standpoint, she was really good. And I feel like this was well before a lot of the coaching for it, was really good at when you met with agents, particularly agents, not even agents that you were recruiting, but agents that you were consulting. Again, like, let's address the reality of the numbers. Like, what do your numbers look like? 1 + 1 is 2, right? So if you keep getting 1, then obviously you're missing something in the equation, right? So it was a big thing, and I got that from her coaching with me. Nice. And I'd had that and again, over the years, I've probably heard the same message 8,000 times, but it always takes about that, 7,999 time before it kicks in. And so that was a big nugget I got from her.
Yeah.
For sure.
Gotcha. So you moved from the team leader position to
I moved back to Charleston, was a team leader there for another 4-ish years.
Gotcha.
I found myself in the same position. I loved what I was doing. I loved the people down there. I didn't like where I was. I wanted to be back in Charleston. So there's a pattern that I decided to obey.
Yeah, yeah, obey, exactly.
And so an opportunity had opened up with a newer market center. They had opened up there. So I moved back and was a team leader for about 3.5 years, and then we had some changes because all the market centers at the time were owned by the same group, and I'd moved into I had kind of hit my ceiling from the recruiting side, and with the market going the way it was, recruiting was not my gift zone as a team leader, so I had moved into a role as a productivity coach, and I was the broker, and I did that for about a year before Lynn and I decided for me to step back into sales.
Right.
So
what was the big dig to go back into sales?
What was the big dig?
I just made that up.
I know, I like it.
I need a t-shirt.
Sounds good. You should hashtag.
Yeah.
So honestly, I think it was Lynn and I got along. We just hit the ground running in our marriage. Like it just all clicked very well. And when she got into sales, she did really, really well. I had been coaching it and loved doing it. We really enjoyed kind of the life we were creating, and I had been kind of in that, in a role for long enough for me.
Right.
And so it was one of those like, okay, what does this look like for us to build a team? And at the time and still are, we've always surrounded ourselves with great people, both in business as well as, and not for any other reason than it's just kind of who like attracts like. Not that we're great, but people we want to hang out with. But going down a bunny trail here that I can't recover. Can we rewind? So,
bring it back. Bring it back.
But we happened to have, we were great friends and doing life with a couple of other couples that had built great real estate businesses. And, one of them that were, one couple was hugely influential were the Falks, Jan and Bobby Falk. And we had spent a lot of time with them and become great friends with them and mentor. They were mentors of us. But most importantly, they're just great friends. I mean, they're just good people. And they just kind of, every time we talk about the business they had built and what they'd done and the opportunities, they just loved it, and they had a good time with it.
Yeah.
So we started looking into it, and it was a process. I mean, we're processors and researchers. So we spent some time on it, and we finally just pulled the trigger and said, let's do this. Let's go all in.
Wow.
And it was scary.
Yeah.
It was fun though.
And you're still doing that, correct?
That's what we're doing now. I mean, that's, our primary is obviously the sales business we have in Charleston. Like I said, I'm a little bit of too many hats right now. Not too many hats, but trying to, so I've the sales business, working with the Temple team on expansion and the lead generation side. And then we are also investors in a market center, the one in Charleston, and I've stepped
good.
Yeah. I know. I keep coming back. You would think. And I've stepped in as the interim OP for that market center. So
gotcha. Very cool.
So that's been fun, and it's been it keeps coming back to that role. That's a leadership role that I love being part of. And has the ability to kind of consult, train, and work with agents.
Sure.
That makes sense.
So what did 2018 look like for your sales team?
Oh, 2018. So this is where we're getting real transparent.
Of course.
Okay, good. So our sales business in 2018 did not do well. Our personal sales business.
Yeah.
And what it was is 2018 was a perfect example for us of taking your eye off the ball. And so it happened in a couple different ways. Now, full disclosure, we had some personal stuff we went through in the year that did affect some of that. So 2018, I stepped into this role of I took my eye off the ball from a listing standpoint. Now that was by design, right? It was, we're going to set up, to get, a minimal amount of listings that would sustain what I needed from that end. And then I was focused mainly on the expansion side of things and the lead generation, the systems and everything with that, which we did. What we didn't take into consideration for us was what that did was take the eye off the ball with a lot of the lead generation for the overall team locally.
Right.
And so, and this is, Lynn and I had always had a good setup where, I was the, primarily the quote unquote rainmaker. And then she was great when it came to follow up from the buyer's agents and everything there. She had a great system. She would put them in. And then that just kind of, there was a handful of different, we're looking back and trying to evaluate, say on the local level, what did that look like? Why did it change as much as it did? The listing side didn't go down as much. The buyer side did. Two areas it went down the most. One was actually the area it went down the most was agent referrals. We get a lot of agent referrals, so that went down. And again, I think that just came from me taking I don't think it did. It came from me taking my eye off the ball, and then also not realizing how much of an effect me taking my eye off the ball would have. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So our sales team locally, like I said, we went down. The overall team, we did, the Temple team did 57 million in volume. And I think that ended up being right at 150 something transactions. So the overall team did fine. Right. And they did well. We didn't hit our goals. We were off on our goals a little bit. Yeah. What was interesting is if you look at the two parts of the business where people had stepped out of their main role. So if you look at the hub business, which is the location in Mooresville, and you look at our business in Charleston. So Kent and Pam, Kent moved into an OP role. Pam moved into coaching and everything, and they're working on expansion, right? I work on the expansion sort of thing. Those two businesses constricted? Yeah. Went down.
So down. Listeners like, what?
Right.
Oh, that makes sense.
Went down. Got it. Those went down, yet our other 3 locations all went up. So what we focused on expanded, right? Right. And then the areas where, and don't get me wrong, 2018 for me was a game changer professionally because I learned so much and did all that. I have no complaints about the year, and it proved that the models work. Right. And if you don't, if you take your one thing and you change it, you better have someone else working on the one thing. Yeah.
So what's the alteration for 2019?
More clarity on if you were to look at my personal life right now or my professional life right now, it's really in 3 main areas, and it's the sales side, the market center, and the expansion side. So for me, the alteration on that is razor sharp clarity on what my one thing is on each one of those. And those are the discussions that I'm having with Lynn, as my partner locally, with Kent, from the expansion standpoint, and then with our market center and the team leader there, what that looks like. Because those all 3 are done all day long at a high level by people. I mean, you look at people in the industry, just look at people in our market that are doing that at a high level. I mean, Kent's doing a good job with it. You've got a handful of different people that have expanded and done it and done their sales side. So it can be done. It's just it's staying laser focused on your one thing on each area, if that makes sense. Yeah, it does.
So what do you use to help keep you laser? Is that something you're still discovering?
For like tools wise, like focus. Yeah. So I'm challenged with something that I'm sure no one else that you've ever spoken to is, and that's time blocking. That's kind
of where I was going with it.
Right. I use I moved back to a paper calendar. So 2016, 2017 personally, from a financial standpoint, were our best years, and again, big thing had to do with, at the time it was sales. Yeah. Right. So if you're going to move and add more to it and be leveraged, you still have to, you can be leveraged all day long, but if you're not using your leverage time wisely, it doesn't matter. Right. Perfect example is when we hire our first assistant. We're like, yay, freedom. We go out. We're not lead generating. We got somebody taking care of all the bad work. And then we turn around. We're like, wonderful. Nothing's pending. Yeah. So that's what happened. I was highly leveraged on the business side of things, and then I just went out and I focused too much in one particular area. Right. So it's gotten back to that. So, I don't know how detailed you want. Basically, my coach has me where I create my digital calendar for the week. And then each either night before or morning of, I'm not real strict on that. I'm penciling in what the set appointments are. Right. And then I go through and with pen, I write my actual. So I can't hide it. Right. So each day, I'll go in and I'll say, okay, I might have had this penciled in, but I'm writing in dark pen what actually happened. And that's pretty eye opening. I've got, actually with my, one of the agents that I coach on our team, one of our expansion partners, that I'm having her do that this week as well, because, we've all got that perfect looking calendar. Right. That then we just hit snooze.
The colors.
Oh yeah. It's beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. You've got the bold colors in there. It's wonderful. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I've had that one. So that's the big one. Is following that, setting it and then following it.
Sure. Yeah. So that's the tool. What's the, and anybody listening to this is like, oh gosh, Ruben, go on that again. Right. I'm a huge believer in time blocking and calendar and all that. Before that though, what has to change?
what has to change? I mean, it's a mental shift that you have to make to, I think it goes back to kind of that crystal clear picture of why you're doing it. Right. And so that's, again, going back to the example of, the agent I was coaching with this morning, that's her challenge right now. It's like, I've got all these things that I want, but I don't know, what's the biggest focus? What's going to cause me to really care that I'm not following my calendar?
Right.
Right. And the challenge with our market is, we've got a decent price point, so you can sell a handful of homes a year and make a great living.
Right.
I mean, that's just it. So that's not sustainable. And where that shows up is retirement. Right. And where that shows up is long-term planning, because so for me, it had to be a mental shift to say, okay, in order for me to, as someone who doesn't really particularly love structure, right, to go in and get this done, see results, and have it happen again. So for me, it was to see the results and then, again, add some accountability in there to say, what does that look like? And I've tried every level of account. I've tried every tool, trick, partnership, write a check to whoever you don't like, write a check to whatever you do like, public humiliation, whatever, all of it. And all of it works for about 3.5 minutes, right? And at the end of the day, it's kind of, Tony DeCello said it 1,000 times. It's like the people that I coach that are most successful are the ones that are comfortable with the boring and mundane.
Yeah.
Right. And that's why I love teaching. The class that I teach the most is lead generation, which takes the most discipline. So again, very ironic that that's what I teach. And the reason that I do is because it's a reminder that like, that's just how it works. Yeah. Right. That's just how it works. And I know this isn't a real succinct answer, but I think if I've seen anything or learned anything is it doesn't come, this is a journey, right? As cliche as that sounds, like this doesn't come from one class you go to and it changes. Right. Trust me, I've had that class about 3,000 times. Yeah. Right. And then 48 hours later, I'm back to where I was. It comes from a series of making decisions over and over and over again to come and do the right thing. It also comes, and I think this is where, not to get too philosophical, not that you would think that it is philosophical, may actually be incredibly stupid, but is you've got to live in some grace, right? You've got to, too many times I see it, particularly with lead generation, is agents set up and they leave a class and they're pumped, right? I'm sure you see it all the time. They're pumped. Tomorrow I'm going to come in, I'm going to lead generate time blocked, and they call someone, or they come in late. They call someone, they hang up on them, or they mess something up and they don't get started till 9:15. And they're like, I can't do it, so I'll just start tomorrow. Or they have, a bad day where they don't get any appointments and they're just like, well, I can't do it, So, have some grace on that. You're going to mess up. You're going to say the wrong thing. For sure. I think where the challenge is now is people having grace that you've messed up for a long time. Right. Meaning, I see we talk in the business planning clinic of, what are your limiting beliefs, or the myth understandings that they call them business planning clinic, myths to it. And I think a lot of them that come up that's not listed there is they have that subconscious, like, I've done it this way for so long. Why would I change? Right. Right. And I think that's really, I think that sounds simple, but I think down deep for me, that's kind of deflating. Right. Right. It's kind of like messes with you. And it's like, well, so you haven't done great in certain areas. Again, I'm not saying I feel like I'm some big failure, but just take lead generation. I haven't been the model lead generator for the last 10 years of my life, but I've got a lot of things right. Right. Exactly. And I've got to give myself some credit. And that's and again, in the business planning clinic, they talk about that. They talk about celebrating progress, think progress, right? So celebrate the things that you've done well. That's the challenge. It's the beauty as well as the challenge of being with a highly accountable company. Like, I love, this company's provided me more opportunities than I'll ever do. I get it. Yeah. That makes sense. And you also run the risk. I'll just throw that out there. You probably won't going to publish this now. But you run the risk of, when you have highly accountable, that people are afraid to report. And the thing is the people that are most authentic are the people that are doing it at the highest level. But there's a constituent of people who just don't realize that. Right. If that makes sense. Yeah. I'm kind of rambling a little bit. But, and I think that's what it's hard to see right now with agents is like, you know what, I've said I was going to do this before and I haven't done it before. I tried it again. Just get back up. Right. Right. And again, also understanding that it's not the end of the world. Exactly. You can't sustain it. Yes. Like, don't misunderstand me. Sure. You can't sustain not doing the right thing, on a regular basis. Right. But you're going to have a bad day. Yeah. And I was talking to an agent on the way up here, and
yes, she is an agent. She just hasn't hung her license anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And she's really afraid on what that looks like. Like, I just want to get it right the first time. And it's taking a lot of time that she could be using executing, even screwing up, but either way,
Right.
just executing. And I told her, I was like, listen, nothing's set in stone.
Right.
Right? Like, you can change tomorrow.
Right.
The idea is to actually move forward, though,
Right,
so
right,
we know
right.
where we need to move, right?
Right.
But in this area that you're in, we'll never know, and you're not necessarily stagnant. You're actually falling behind right now,
Right.
So it is the idea of just taking action. It is the idea of just failing
Right.
forward, and through that failing forward, and as a team leader, something that I really loved was finding the gaps,
Right.
doing it so much so that you screwed up, or that it does start identifying the gaps, because as soon as you fill those gaps, this whole thing is better for
Right.
everyone. And that only happens when you do take action, and it only happens when you know that it's okay to fail.
Right. And honestly, going back to this 2018, I mean, that's probably the biggest growth for me this year, because when you're a husband-wife team or you're an individual agent, you can afford to have that analysis paralysis. Not for a long time, but you can afford it for a lot longer than you can when you've now been moved into a role where you're helping an organization grow, and you're helping people within the organization grow their business for their family.
Sure.
So there was a lot of, and Kent did a great job of coaching me on that. There was a lot of, look, we just need to move forward and break this.
Yeah.
Yes. There was I'll send it to you. There's a great video he sent me about Roush Racing and engines. And they basically said, what do you do? And they said, we start the engine and we put a brick on the accelerator and we walk away until it blows up. And then we come back and find out what happened and we go do it again. And
that's where the opportunity lies,
I know.
right?
And that's where it was. Now, again, that's easy to say, but it was hard for me to learn.
Yeah.
And that's what happens, though. And the challenge, if you have a relationship with a lot of people, this was a struggle for me, because we have a lot of agents on our team where that wasn't their gift. That was, what do we say? That didn't bless them, right? They didn't want things to be messed up. They wanted things to run correctly, and I don't blame them.
Right.
And it's doing that. There's an awkward balance between doing that and not annoying a lot of people.
Right.
Right. Because you're messing up a lot.
Yeah. So also, and I'm sure you do this when you were taking a ton of listings, was building the expectation.
Right.
Right. So maybe that conversation happens with that person. Is the expectation, the conversation like, hey, listen, this is something I'm kind of moving into.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little gray for me. However, I know the more I move forward and the more this thing grows, will you be okay with riding with me on this journme, knowing that a wheel may fall off.
Right. Right. Or all of them.
Or all of them at the same time.
No. Yeah. It's well, what's funny is even you saying that, I mean, that conversation for me, just to even say that would be like, oh, I don't want to say that. Everything's perfect, right? Nothing will go wrong.
Just don't turn around.
Just don't look.
There might be a fire.
Don't look at the man behind the curtain. But no, you're absolutely right. And that was a trouble. That was a learning curve for me when we brought people on to set that expectation, to say, listen, we do a lot of things right. We do a lot of things wrong.
Yeah.
I went to ESO last year, right when I joined the team, and Seth Campbell ended up coming and teaching at the last minute, which was a blessing. And
ESO is
expansion systems orientation.
Perfect.
Thank you.
No, you're good.
And so one of the things he said, now here's what's happening. And we were in there with our director of operations at the time. He said, here's what's happening. There are some of you in the room that are building that perfect system, like that wonderful contract to close, whatever system it is. And I'm sure it is amazing. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to implement mine today, move forward and make some corrections. You're going to build the perfect one, implement it in a month, and then you're going to realize how messed up it is.
Yep.
And that's what we had been doing.
The first podcast I have ever been on or ever did ever. Mm-hmm. I hope he's not listening. I did with him. Actually, in this room.
Right.
Yeah. Weird enough, he actually traveled to do it here. Had a videographer.
Right.
Who's going to do all the editing, all the post stuff, all this, going to make it beautiful. I said, crazy, because I'm thinking about doing a podcast too.
Yeah.
And I had, this setup was not even here. It was this lapel mic.
Right.
And it was falling off. And
right.
It looked crazy and weird. And the static video, right? But I did it.
Right.
I just did it. Knowing that it was going to screw up. I think this is podcast maybe 34 or 35. That one that I did with him, which by the way was his first one, still hasn't come out.
Really?
And we closed 2018 with 100 downloads a day.
That's amazing.
Starting in March.
That's crazy.
Over 3,000 downloads that he missed out on.
Right.
And I love you, man. Because
right.
he just didn't go.
Yeah. Interesting.
crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
And the cool thing is I can go back to podcast 1 and look at the video and be like, wow, look how far we came.
Right.
Because it's documented.
Yeah.
So there's a story to be told too.
Yeah. That's awesome that you have it all done. I mean, that's quite amazing, actually.
Yeah.
That'd be cool to see. Good for you. I bet that's fun to go back and watch.
Good for you, Josh.
Huh?
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. So I know you have a
no, we're good. Yeah, we're
How
good.
far away is the...
I think 5 or 10 minutes.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Where's that?
Chapman's?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sounds amazing.
I can look it, yeah.
No, we don't.
I can look it up.
Look it up.
I only think it's like 5 or
Plug
10
for
minutes.
Chapman's if you ever hear this.
Exactly.
Just send me $5.
Yeah.
All right, so...
No, this is fun. Now you may be ready to wrap up.
No. I just want to make... I'm a big time guy, the time block thing. I want to, make sure you're there. Okay, so... Awesome. And I'm just going to tell you one thing that helped me because, with what you said with the, you need to see how far you came. Mm-hmm. Like we know we fell a lot, but how far did you come?
Right.
Question, do you ever see yourself, not necessarily being the one that writes it, publishing a book?
I do actually. I feel like that's been in my mind a lot in the last 3 to 6 months. Okay. What's the book about? I think if I were to title a book, I think either it would be like one that keeps popping in my head was Everyone Has a Story, right? And along those same lines, I'd love to title a book that just says, you know what, you don't have to hit rock bottom to make a big change, right? And I know that may sound weird, but I feel like there's a lot of people, like you hear these stories of these people that have done grandiose things.
Yeah. And
there always seems to be a story that like just kind of, you're like, yeah, I understand why you made that change, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so, and again, I don't mean to sound like a victim, but it's like, a lot of people do great things and it's not because they hit rock bottom and made a change. They just subconsciously made a change and started doing great things. There'd also be good to write a book that would have to do with, you could do great things without having a huge story as well.
Right.
I think so. The 3 that I'll write are those 3. Right?
Yeah.
Everyone has a story. You don't have to hit rock bottom to do wonderful things. And your story, you can do amazing things, and your story doesn't have to be huge.
Do all of them have a common...
We're focused here.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Hey, it could be a trilogy, right?
Exactly. There we go.
You only get the full picture if you buy all 3.
I like it.
That's what I'm talking about. Do all of them have the common connection that the story is yours?
Yes.
So one thing that helped me was that I started, and one time it really took just a lot of time to try to figure out when it all started, right? Just to think about that, like this entrepreneurial world. But eventually you catch up to present date,
right? And
then you start documenting the month, the year, and what you accomplish. And so it does 2 things. One, if I need that pat in the back, like, okay, I've screwed up everything. Everyone hates me. This thing is just going to be a disaster. What the hell did I do?
Right.
I'm not accomplishing anything. I'll go back to that and I'm like, oh, that's right. Oh, whoa. Oh, that was a big, that affected so-and-so. Oh, that was big for so-and-so. And you just go down and it makes you feel a little bit better. Like, damn, look at all I've accomplished in a short amount of time. Right. And when you get ready to write that book, you can hand that to someone else and be like, ask me questions along the way, but here's the framework of the wins and the challenges and everything I had. Here's the framework of it.
I like that. I think, you're right. The common theme is everyone has their own story. And I think that's the way to put it. Not to get all Purple Heart on you, but the bold law is, it's
hard.
Like that.
That's a legit thing in our market, by the way.
Well, I know. That's why I said that. I was like, wait, I'm not degrading that by any way, shape, or form. But it's, there's a bold law that says don't compare your insides to other people's outsides. Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, your story's probably pretty fantastic. And I think that you just don't, we don't give, for example, we a couple of years ago started doing mission trips. We go to Honduras. We go about once or twice a year and have been, and going again possibly in February. Some things are changing up maybe a little bit. And we fall into this routine where you go down there and you're in basically a third world country that has terrible corrupt government, and the poverty there is ridiculous. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And you get this challenge of going down there and saying, well, gosh, what do I have to complain about? Okay, well, that's not the point, right? The point is it's all relative, right? It's and I have a great friend that lives down there, and she's become friends through the mission, and she says that every time. She says, you're going to go home and you're going to go through this anger thing, right? You're going to go and you're going to look at your house with your 2 cars in the garage, and you'll be like, why? This is stupid that I'm upset about anything. Well, stop doing that. Like, you're upset because your story is in a relative phase that something's going on, right?
Right.
So that's, it's important to go back and just realize that you're just because you've heard someone's story that was worse or better or whatever than yours doesn't mean yours isn't valid.
100%.
How do we get on this topic? Like, this is a good topic.
I love this is why I like not the structure.
Right.
There's no structure. It's just conversation.
You have nothing. Like, we have nothing in front of us. How long have we been talking?
59 minutes.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's why I say usually run about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
No, man, I think that's important. And the reason, and this little area, maybe it's a large, I don't know, the area in me, I think that the reason why there's no structure and the conversation just needs to happen how it happens is because once this is published, someone needs to hear what we were talking about in that moment whenever they download it.
Right.
So who am I to say there has to be structure to this conversation? Just kind of allow it to happen. Because whoever you are listening to this right now, this was for you.
This is exactly what you were supposed to hear at this moment in time.
Exactly. Because how many people do that? Compare their insides to other people's outsides.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like that's happened a lot. I mean, and again, you go like take bold. We talked bold earlier. It's whenever you're listening to the message is what's important. And that's why I love teaching. Like that's why Jim Rohn says he says the good thing about teaching is you go teach to 10 different people. They all hear it once. You hear it 10 times. Right. But as a student, if you go back, there's two benefits when you go back. One, you're different.
That's right.
And 2, the message could be different. Right. Yeah. It's normally that you're different. Right.
Yeah.
And how I relate that to bold is I remember one time I went through bold, and I think this was one where Bill Middleton was the instructor. And I remember like going home and practicing it. I was like, man, they changed the scripts. It's awesome. The format is just, I love it. It's going awesome. And I show up the next week and, I'm telling, Bill about it. I'm like, this is amazing. He's like, well, why is it so amazing? It's different. It's awesome. He's like, take it home and compare it to your last bold book. And I took it home. It was the exact same material.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, good point. Right. So it's, you're right. Whoever's listening to this, hopefully it'll be, I don't know what message will come from it, but it'll be the right time.
And it may be a message we never hear. Right. It's those unspoken things that happen.
Right.
That we don't think we're making an impact.
Right.
And it's just to our dying days, we may never hear the impact that we really did, but there's a lot of impact going through.
Well, that goes in, well, first of all, props to you for doing it. Cause I think because I've listened to a handful of them from yours. Typically like most, people, I'm going to go listen to people I hear first to see what they have to say. Right. So I heard you, Matt Perry. And Kent, well, I timed Kent. He spent like 32 seconds on me. So we'll work on that one. But no, you go listen.
Now you got your own podcast. So
exactly. But you go listen to them. And even in Kent's, I mean, I talk to Kent Temple once a day. Right. But even listening to that, I remember being like, wait, what did he say? Go back. And, you get it. You hear it differently. In the tech class today, listening to this stuff, you hear it differently. It's like, oh man, anyway.
Exactly. So. No, I agree.
Yeah.
Do you mind if, OP roll?
Yes.
Just real quick.
Yes.
Because you're intern. So OP is?
Operating principal.
Right. Which is?
So each market center in Keller Williams has a investor group, so to speak. The operating principal is the one who basically works. Our main role is to create the vision, the capital, and the accountability for the market center itself, mainly working with the team leader who is our CEO, basically.
Right.
So through the team leader, we work with him to grow the office.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that, I guess now that you're getting your toes a little wet in it, do you see that this might be something you'd be interested in?
It is. I mean,
later,
yeah. I mean, I think it is. I think there's a lot of parts of that role that are very, very appealing to me. One of them are, actually the 3 main parts. The vision, capital, and the accountability. Again, that's part that is a learned behavior for sure. But I do like that. At the end of the day, it's all about the people with whom you're in business. I've known amazing OPs that have struggled with leadership and therefore had struggled with success. And I've known, OPs that had opportunity for growth, but had amazing team leaders. And oh, by the way, I've also seen those same people be in the exact opposite position 2 years later or 3 years before. So,
Right.
It's all about the team that you create. Our office right now, has a wonderful team,
Right.
for which I can't take credit, to be honest with you. The team was put together before I stepped into this role. And I hope to reap the benefits, in the greater sense,
Right.
not just in a financial sense. That being said, you always wonder when there's changes in leadership, how does that affect everybody else?
Yeah.
So you got to keep an eye on it.
Yeah. What do you enjoy most about it?
Well, full disclosure, I've been in the role for about 7 days, so it's
Let's pretend.
So if you had been in the role for longer, what would that look like?
Right.
However, I've been an investor for a while, so what I do like about it is it does, for me, it allows that it allows that relationship and the accountability with fewer people. I would say to have a stronger impact.
Yeah.
Versus like the team leaders, like they have an amazing ability to have those relationships with more people.
Right.
And I think for me, I'm envisioning that role that being the bigger appeal to me. Not to sound like I don't like people. I do. I love people. I just think that, for me, that's what I like. And when I first got in the business, I had, the OP of our office who was the team leader as well. How they ran it, how they did things, the vision, that whole vision piece I love.
Yeah.
Make no mistake about it, though. If I'm not in business with the right people to have said vision implemented, I'm Pollyanna, right?
Yes.
I'm just cheerleading a great idea. I've got to be surrounded by people that are going to implement it.
Yeah. And you just kind of give me like an aha and you open my eyes a little bit, but you said, working with this smaller group versus working with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. With those certain people, that's that smaller group, they are impacting a lot of people. So,
correct.
So imagine what that looks like.
Right.
At the end of the day, yes, you're talking to 5, 6, 7 people.
Right.
But through those people,
you're
making a very, very big impact versus you being, and I was a team leader, so I feel like I'm allowed to say versus you just working with the ALC and then the rest of the whole firm. You could do that on multiple bases, right? And just keep that thing impact or compounding.
No, you're right. That's a really good point. No, I think you do. And again, if you go to Quantum Leap and you look at in Quantum Leap, which is a class by Gary Keller, you probably will ask that, but it has nothing to do with real estate. Right. It's a class on building a life by design. And one of the part of it is that the people with whom you're in life with, not even in business.
Right.
And it's, you've got your financial side, your health side, your spiritual side, and all of those. But then if you look at those, like each one of them has fewer than 5 people underneath them, but it just continues to grow.
Yeah.
There's something pretty, for someone who has taught for a long time, to groups of people, this is kind of a little bit of a paradigm shift for me because I'm starting to, I love when I teach and people leave and I get feedback that says, I finally feel like I can do this and that sort of thing. The challenge with that is you get to a point where we've had so many people in there, no follow-up system is going to allow you to be able to tell how well everyone did, right? So the selfish side of me wants to know right away.
Did you ask Kelly?
Right, I should have asked Kelly. I should have. Apparently she's going to be telling me everything here shortly, or he. But with this, it's like that shift for me is, fewer people, more continued relationship. That's what kind of I seem to be like, even from a coaching standpoint. I haven't been, other than what we do on the team, I haven't been, in a coaching program in a while as a coach. I'm in coaching. So, what does that look like? Is it fewer people, more time, bigger relationship, if that makes sense? But I also, there's something to be said there are some phenomenal opportunities to teaching.
Yeah.
And having those people impacted.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, you can have that one class that triggers the person to then go get into a relationship that has a long term. Right. Right. So my fear with teaching, though, like I said earlier, was, you're waiting for that one moment to change you. Right. Right. Or that one person to come and turn you around.
Yeah. So. Have you thought of a class that you'd like to teach that is one that you made? Like, have you started building your own, like?
I haven't. It's a great question. I probably should. I mean, the class I teach is like a bolt-on class of a couple of different ones.
Sure.
But, yeah, I mean, I think I would want to one day, but I mean, honestly, I don't have a lot of structure behind that answer.
Sure.
I don't even know what that would look like.
Yeah.
I have found that I've gotten into where I teach a lot more technical side of things, which is weird because that's not my natural personality. Like, I teach this lead generation class, which is a lot about systems and foundation of that, business planning clinic, and then, teaching technology stuff. Those are very technical classes.
Right.
But I feel that there's, there's an opportunity in that, because a lot of times in those very technical subjects, people aren't going to take the class, or they're not going to get the material because they're taught very technically as well.
Right. Which
could come across as maybe not, I don't want to say as entertaining.
Not fun.
Correct. Right. And I'm not trying to think of anything in particular, but that's why you don't see. I mean, let's be honest. How many lead generation classes do you hear that are taught?
Exactly.
But we talk about it all the time.
All the time.
And we have an all-day class on sellers. We have an all-day class on buyers. We have an 8-week class on lead generation, which is great. It's not teaching, though. It's coaching. That's what we're told over and over.
Yeah.
And then we've got, Ignite has 2 days on lead generation. 2 days on lead generation.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's because it's not, I always ask the classroom, who got into the business? Raise your hand if you got in the business to lead generate.
Yeah.
Right? You can take a wild guess how many people raise their hand.
The whole class.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Maybe your coaching clients in the locker room do, but I can tell you that most of the people that are in my classroom are like, meh.
No, it's the bigger reason why they should be lead gen. It's never the lead gen. No, it's the vessel to get you to where.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know we're getting close to time, and I wanted to talk about expansion and the people who have said that it won't work and it will never work. And what's the idea of expansion? What does expansion even mean?
So expansion is basically, the concept started with you grow your real estate business and you grow your team where you've basically maxed out the market that you are in. And typically how the quote unquote and elusive model is, you then go to the next neighboring town. And so what that looks like is, and we'll just take, from the Temple team's standpoint, the Temple team built they ran about $45 million business in their hub with a not $1 million price point, right? So, it was a lot of transactions.
Right.
And so they then expanded, and then they wanted to take those systems and tools and put them into another market, right? So that's what we do from an expansion standpoint. So what that would look like is then you go to a neighboring city. So for their first expansion was into Charlotte, which worked for the time being there, because they did have, that's still in the same MLS. It's still, it's an easy commute to the hub if you need to do that. We went a little outside the model when we expanded to Charleston. That mainly showed up just because of the relationship, right?
Yeah.
Kent and I knew each other, and he was dying to get into business with me, so he did you get that? So
we can only say his name for about, we can only talk about him for about 30 seconds.
Right. But we got into business together, and we had talked about that for I know exactly. Our first real conversation was March of 2016. And he called me and said, "Hey, we need to explore this." Because we've talked to you for years about going into business together.
Sure.
And we went to ESO and we left that, and we were like, we're just not ready. Right. And so fast forward a year, he had a relationship show up in the Charlotte area that said, "Hey, I want to expand." And that's why they expanded.
Right.
And then a little bit later that year, he finally suckered me into doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, we explored it, and it's been, it's not an easy task. So to your specific question earlier is, it definitely has come with mixed reviews.
Right. For sure.
Our growth plan is a little bit different, in that we've grown more organically. All of our expansion offices have come from some sort of current relationship.
Yeah.
Be that with the operating principal or team leader in that market center who happened to know someone, or with someone who wanted to go to that market center with whom we already had a relationship.
Right.
So that's what happened in Asheville. That's what happened in Kernersville. That's what happened in our South Park office, that we had in Charlotte South Park. So,
question.
Yes.
This just came up.
Okay.
So obviously this is kind of, and maybe not, tell me, it's like a franchise system.
Correct.
Right. So if I want to expand my business, then I'm going to franchise to someone else and all that. So if you look at that, right, and this is totally off the cuff.
Right.
And if you look at Remax, Coldwell Banker, ERA, all of them, that's what they did to expand. KW was the only one that realized that it wasn't so much at the time that it wasn't so much about the brand, it was about the person in their local market. And
correct.
So you're powered by Keller Williams.
Right.
Do you think that maybe this is, I don't know. What if by expanding, you're kind of doing the same thing because now you're spreading your brand that worked really well in your market and shoving it in a different market where it's like, I don't really know this brand. I might not know this brand. Now the KW peeps are like, oh snap, they're here, raise the roof. The market, the people who buy and sell, I don't know, but I do know this local person. So could it be powered by?
Well, that's exactly what it is. Oh, I mean, that's no, great question, good segue. Well, I mean, conceptually that's what it is, and that's what we've chosen to do. Now, it also depends on us, like how. No. I mean, it's, like if we have an agent join, that's an agent. They're expanding as the Temple team, and that's how it's expanding. But exactly right. Now, when they expanded into Charlotte, that was one thing. People in Charlotte, they had some name recognition there.
Right.
And when we had expanded there, it was with a team. When they expanded to Charleston, it was our team. So our team in Charleston was Salt Marsh Properties, and our marketing is everything is powered by the Temple team, right?
Same so the brand thing, still stays the same.
Your person, not ours does as a team, right?
Right.
And this is different for everyone. What we found is most expansion teams, if they bring on a team, they allow the team to keep its personal branding because normally that's at a local market where where the hub office doesn't have a presence anyway.
That's exactly right.
For instance, in Kernersville and Asheville, though, we had individual agents come on, right? One of them was new in the business. They're branding, they're building the Temple team there.
They don't have
At the end of the day, though, it's just like it was with Keller Williams. I mean, yes, Carly's building the Temple team brand, and she's a wonderful representation of the Temple team brand. But at the end of the day, I mean, this goes back to the perspective of Keller Williams. It's a local service business driven by the individual agent.
Exactly.
And their database of people with whom they have regular contact.
Exactly.
I mean, and that's everywhere.
Right.
The difference is what systems and everything are we creating for our clients, which ours being, as the Temple team, our clients are the agents.
Right.
Now, right. From my perspective, what systems, tools, and everything are we providing that are going to keep them, that are going to bring enough value for them to be part of the organization? Are we going to provide them enough of an opportunity where they'll grow, and grow the organization? And that's, but there are a lot of people, I mean, like I said, it's mixed reviews. A lot of people don't like, listen, it's failed more often than it hasn't.
Right.
We've failed. I mean, we've messed up. We've had agents leave. We've had our Charlotte team, left, and it's, it's not great. Nobody likes that to happen, but it's, here's what we love about it. Or I don't say we love when we talk about when we lose people, is here's what we're proud of. Here's what I'm proud of.
Sure.
And I would imagine that Pam and Kent would feel the same way. Is, this was, and this is recent, so it's full transparency, is, we had a great team in Charlotte, a great team, great agents doing great. They're going to be great. And I hope if anything changes that, they can come back. But at the end of the day, I just got a personal note from the girl that was leading it, just saying, hey, thank you so much for how all this handled, blah, blah. There was no animosity, anything like that. They had reached a point where they wanted to go and explore it on their own and do it in ways that they felt that they could do it on a local level. I mean, I can't fault them for that.
Yeah. The
challenge is had we grown differently and it's just a numbers game for us, then we start burning bridges, and that's never what we want to do.
Right.
And again, there's mixed emotions on that, right? There's some people who say, hey, just go out. It's like recruiting. Bring people on. If they're a good fit, great. If not, they'll move on. Like I said, ours has been a little bit more organic.
Right.
So the losses hit just as hard as, anything else.
Right.
So, kind of trail on that one.
Yeah. No, I think that's knowing that expansion has failed more often than not. I think that's just like flag saying this is the opportunity, this is the opportunity, because the more people that step away from it, someone's trying to come in. Yes.
Okay, make sure somebody locked the door.
Someone, I did. We're almost done. So someone just tried breaking in while we were doing the podcast.
Right? God. Ruben pounced, though. Y'all would be impressed. He was defending.
Who is it?
Exactly. Well, here's the deal. Here's the reason expansion is not working, and why people are having why it doesn't have a great reputation with a lot of people. It's twofold. One, people are expanding too soon.
Yeah.
And people are expanding with the wrong value proposition.
Right.
So that's the first part. And two, they're not taking into consideration that there are more people involved in this than just them.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying anybody in particular, but these are the two biggest feedbacks. I can tell you right now, we learned on the first one a lot, and Pam can say the same thing. Now when's too soon? It's always gonna be too soon, because whenever you're ready, you go out and you break it all. Right. And that's what happens. So the reason they're surviving is they did. We sat down and said, here are the things that need to be put in place before we expand at a bigger level.
Right.
So that's the big one. And what happens is if you have, or you expand too far away, which is part of that, because you can have wonderful systems that work. If I'm coming in the office every day and I drop a listing contract on the admin's desk,
sure,
that's a little easier regulated than having systems and having that streamlined. Right. The second thing is they don't take into consideration that it is where it's a franchise, so to speak, inside of a franchise. There's a relationship that you have to protect with the market centers. That's, when we expand into market centers, our goal, not only to grow the expansion partner at whatever level they would like, but also to grow the relationship and have the market center be a resource to us.
Yes.
Because we do a lot of things right.
Yes.
And so do they.
Yes. Right.
Right. And I don't, we just went through this, 60 days of completely revamping our operations manual. And it was amazing how many things that we said, we don't need to have this in here because the market center does that. No, it says see market center, right? But the market center is a big leverage. I don't need to have an operations manual with agent foundational training when the market center has it.
Right.
I don't need, and so the market centers are a huge asset. And what's happening, and this is teams in general, this isn't just expansion, is what happens is people are coming on, the expectations aren't set correctly. Exception to everything. Expectations aren't set correctly. Agent doesn't like what they're getting. Rainmaker doesn't like what they're getting. Nobody likes anything. Everybody leaves everything. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you've got, you've got a...
Say again?
Megan?
Megan?
Tell Megan's still up here?
You can say Ruben and Joseph are still up here.
You got it.
Okay. Megan?
Oh, who should she tell Megan is still up here?
Oh.
I think that's...
You're
going to edit this part out.
No. I love this
stuff. That's awesome. And so what happens is, everybody's done and they're just like, I'm out, right?
Right.
Now, again, like I said, well before expansion, that happened on teams. That's not alone to expansion.
Yeah.
But I think that's happening a lot right now. I think if we're just being honest, there are a lot of people that are, that are coming in and it's, we've messed up.
Yeah.
Like we've had agents leave the team that were not happy. I've had conversations with agents that I swore I painted the picture, black and white as I could. And when they left, they're like, no, you didn't. I had one agent tell me, she said, you told me you're selling me a filet. And I was, what did she say? She said, I ended up having to cook my own sirloin or something like that. She's like, that's what she said. She said, you told me you were selling me a perfectly cooked filet. And I ended up working in the kitchen, doing everything myself to cook a crappy sirloin or something like that. I was like, man. She was right though. So
those suck, and I love those.
Exactly.
And say, okay, great. So what would it look like to make it a 10, and then bam, just add that to a system again.
Where most of the answers come down to 9 times out of 10 of what could have made it better.
Accountability. Oh, communication. Yeah,
it could have been. No, don't get me wrong. We had plenty of work to do, but communication was a big one.
Yeah.
So. And understand, and again, coming from curiosity.
Yeah.
Which is part of which is what communication is.
Yeah.
See, first understand.
Yep. So. Yeah, I agree with that. Since you have about, I don't know, 4 minutes before you got to head out. I'm just going to run through these questions. I've never done this like a rapid fire.
Oh boy.
I know, never. Where you just answer basically with one word.
Or something. One word.
I've never done it before.
I've never answered one word in my life, man. This is going to be challenging.
Even when I'm asking, one word is literally 2 words.
Correct.
Yeah. So
anyways. Your example answer is already breaking the rules.
So bad. All right. So I'm going to fire these off at you and answer with one word. By the way, again, never done this before, but we're just running against time. So what do you believe separates excellent from average?
Follow through.
Follow through?
Yeah.
Is that one word?
No.
Okay. No is. All right. So do you have a favorite failure that you believe has set you up for success? That's a yes or no answer, right?
Yes, I do believe I have a favorite failure.
Okay. All right. What have you gotten better to saying no to?
God, that list is questions.
Questions. What have you gotten better at saying no to is questions? Mm-hmm. Like people who ask you questions?
Right.
And then,
so can I elaborate?
Yes,
on that? Yeah.
please.
So basically, I'm a drop everything guy,
yeah,
right? I mean, there's a good chance if you have a question, you come knock on my door. I mean, aside from the house being on fire, I'm like, hey, can I help?
yeah, right.
So I've gotten a lot better at saying, hey, I can't answer that now. However, here's a time I can. So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Which goes back to the calendar, allocating some time for it. Okay.
Right.
What profession other than your own would be fun to attempt?
Lawyer.
Lawyer. All right, other than lawyer.
Pilot. Yeah. Flying fascinates me. It is just it's fascinating.
Yeah. Mark Ramsey.
Yeah, I know, right?
He's crushing it right now. Matter of fact, his first business flight.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I listened to that.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah,
Woo.
that's right.
All right, so...
I feel very... no, go ahead.
Okay. Now I got to know.
I drew a blank on his name, so I feel very Tim Ferriss-ish right now. Like,
Tim Ferriss.
Like cool questions going on.
Yep. This came from his book.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Nice.
I forgot the book.
Tools of Titans?
Tools of Titans. Yeah. I pulled some from Tools of
Yeah,
Titans.
so the great part of that is Lazy, a manifesto.
Lazy Manifesto?
Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
Yeah?
It's part of that book.
Is
it's
it?
Amazing.
Well,
Because it's all about that whole thing of like everyone's like, how's it going? Oh man, I'm busy.
Oh,
I'm busy.
yes.
I'm busy.
Yes.
It's like the whole write up on that.
Yes. What is purchase of less than $100 that have most improved your life? Tim Ferriss question, by the way.
No, it's less than 100. I'd have to say it would be a book. So Traveler's Gift.
Traveler's Gift?
Yeah.
Awesome. And we're finding that's a
book
Audible or a book.
Yeah. Just 2 words though.
So what question do you have for me?
Oh man, why did I not know that was coming?
Since I kind of peppered you with questions, and then we'll just end it on that.
No, so like I love this. Like this seems like it would be a lot of fun and very rewarding. So what triggered that? Because this is no small undertaking. Like you got to take that. Now again, you may just download it and upload it, which is fine. But I mean, this is and props to you. Like this is
Thank you.
Like this has been an hour and a half of just natural questions, and it's good. So I'm actually kind of impressed. What got you? Like what started it, and how do you keep it going? Like what?
So what started it was reading the book "Crushing It."
Okay.
Which was Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary Vaynerchuk's big in the social media world. He said, go to podcast, go to audio, because that's going to be the new thing.
Okay. There you go.
That's what did it. And then talking to builders and all this, and knowing that we will be in smart homes.
Mm-hmm.
And when somebody goes into the area and says, hey, tell me, I just saw a sign, I'm looking to sell my house. Tell me more about the Temple team. Tell me more about Joseph. And then it's okay. And it's going to bring up, and say podcast with, play that. Okay. I want to know his story. Like, who is that person? Obviously, that helps me get into the home as well. So, yes, that's what started it. This looks like it's complex, but it didn't start off this way. Broke it a lot.
Right.
Figured things out. I've lost complete in the whole podcast before. Mm-hmm. Where people weren't happy with me because they did this and it's like, oh, Joseph, nothing recorded. Right. Yeah, this is me figuring stuff out. Right. How do you keep it going? It's a lead generation, right? You're constantly reaching out. If I know that you're in the area, I'm going to reach out and say, hey, do you have...
Which he's very good at, by the way. He's very good at...
Follow-ups on point, right?
No, that's good. Yeah. I've only rescheduled this like 4 times.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So where can everyone find you?
Oh, so find me. You can email me. Very easy email, joseph@kw.com. That's actually the best way to get a hold of me. So if you want to do that, just kind of shoot me an email. I'd love to help. I love talking real estate. Love doing this. So
awesome.
That'd be the best way, man.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you coming by today.
Yeah.
Appreciate us finally sitting down and knocking this out. I appreciate the value that you brought to everyone.
Well, I hope I did. Let's put it on the schedule for like a couple years from now and then see what that improvement looks like.
I would love to, man. Thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you.
Have a good one.